Ubs 2 folder. O widest D launch
Loading Rocky's Dragon Village.
landscape. Rocky's Dragon Village. Welcome to Dragon Village. Press any key to continue. You are the leader of a small settlement called Dragon Village. Your task is to grow and prosper. You will have to watch the weather and plan for floods. You will have to defend against wolf packs and gangs of outlaws. You can make goods in the village and sell them at market. You can win favor with the king, or earn respect from the gods. You can send villagers on journeys or take a quest from the village witch. The brave may even choose to visit the dragon. The choice is yours. Press any key to begin your journey. Main menu. Play the game. Abandon current game and restart from day 1. View the instructions. Listen to some quick verbal instructions. Toggle speech off or on. Toggle the intro screen off. Toggle speech off or on. Toggle the music on or off. Change the text color. Change the background color. Read the history of Dragon Village. Save your game and exit the play the game. Read the history of Dragon Village. The land to the north of the Rocky River had been a dry and infertile place for many a year. Dry, some said, others said scorched, or even burnt. Yet the forest had recently grown again and the blackened hills turned a pleasant olive color. The river Rocky, once a dry riverbed, flowed again and swam with fish. Old Brian the Wise could still remember the day the first settlers crossed the Rocky River. Although he was not so old back then, and he was called many things, none of them wise. The settlers nestled in a clearing, between the river, the woods, the hills and the forest. Crops were planted and a few cottages and a farm were built. Next came the tavern, a popular place to this day. The tavern needed a name, as did the village. Brian the Wise suggested the Green Dragon Tavern, in mockery of the old wives' tales of dragons. Perhaps wisdom has to be learned sometimes. The name stuck, however, and the village became known as Dragon Village after the popular tavern. Villagers made baskets and soon a market was set up for passing trade. As the village grew, a blacksmith and a church were added. Soon a general store was built to keep the grain and other goods. Even the rats seemed well fed. Messengers were sent to the king, but as there was no hunting to be had, no reply came. Perhaps Dragon Village was too quiet for its own good. Brian grew with the years, and when he took charge of the tavern, he grew in size. In those days he was called Brian the Barman, or Brian the Brewer. Or sometimes even Brian the Brainless, when he forgot to charge the customers. Brian insisted it was wise to let customers have a few free drinks. The name stuck, as customers tried to encourage Brian's wisdom. The river swelled and a bridge was needed instead of a ford. Fishing became a little bit tricky and a dike was needed to protect the fields. Suddenly the weather seemed very important in Dragon Village. But dark clouds were not the only dark clouds on the horizon. Rumors of outlaws and rumors of wolves grew with the telling. And worse, much worse, smoke was seen to the north. A lot of smoke, which means a lot of fire, according to Brian, who by now was a lot older and wiser. Well, certainly older. A watchtower was built in a guardhouse, but village folk were too busy to keep a constant guard. Just one plot was left in the village and folk were asked what should be built. Some suggested a jail for any outlaws, some suggested a hospital for any injured defenders. Brian the Wise suggested an extension to the church graveyard. No one asked again, and the plot remained empty. Eyes looked to the north as the smoke drifted to the south. Dragon Village needs a leader, which is where you come in. Return to the main menu. Main menu. Read the history of Dragon. Save your game and exit the play the game. Press enter on your choice of difficulty level for Dragon Village. Relaxing. Interesting. Challenging. Stressful. relaxing, stressful, relaxing, interesting. Set game difficulty to interesting. Please type Y or N. Thank you. Your difficulty level is now set to interesting. Okay, let's go. You are at location D3, the marketplace. It is day 1, time to instruct your workers. There are currently 0 workers here, the maximum at this location is 10. How many workers do you want to sell goods to passing travelers to earn some money? There are now 4 workers here. There are currently 4 workers here, the maximum at this location is 10. How many workers do you want to sell goods to passing travelers to earn some money? There are still 4 workers here. D4, the mill and bakery. D5, the bridge to the south. There are currently 0 workers here, the maximum at this location is 10. How many workers do you want to take goods and gold to the king to win his favor? You need another 10 gold and 10 goods to send these workers. There are still 0 workers. There are currently 0. You need another 5 gold and 5 goods to send. You need a D5, E, F, G5. The woods. G5, G5. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. How many workers? There are now 10 workers here. There are currently 10 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. How many work? There are still 10. G5. G1. The forest. Main menu. Abandon current game and restart. Okay. Are you sure you wish to scrub your current game? Please type Y or N. Okay. You are the leader of a small settlement called Dragon Village. You probably better get stuck in. Press any key to continue. Press N. Interesting. Relaxing. Stressful. Challenging. Set game difficulty to challenging. Please type Y. Thank you. Your difficulty level is now set to challenging. Okay, let's go. You are at location G1, the forest. It is day 1, time to instruct your workers. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. How many There are now 10 workers here. G2, the forest. There are currently 10 workers. There are still G3, the road to the east. There are currently 0. There are now 10 workers here. G4, G5, the river. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. There are now 10. E5, the river. E4, the wheat fields. There are now 1 workers. D3, the marketplace. There are now 10. C3, the building plot. Sorry, the maximum workers here is 2. There are now 2. B3, the blacksmith. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. How many? Sorry, the maximum workers here is 10. There are now 10 workers. 3, the road to the west. 5, the woods. 2, the hills. 1, the hill. 1. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. There are now 10 C, B1, the hills. D, E, F, G, 2, the hills. G2. Today is day 1 of your leadership in Dragon Village. You have not started your building task. Status report this day in Dragon Village. You have 80 villagers. You currently have 63 villagers doing some work. You have 100 bags of grain. You have 100 available food. You have 0 gold coins. You have 0 goods to sell. Rumors suggest there are around 0 outlaws in the hills. Rumors suggest there are thought to be 0 wolves in the forest. Return to Dragon Village and continue your day. It is day 1, time to instruct your... Are you sure you wish to end the day? Please type Y or N. Okay. Events this day in Dragon Village. Today's weather was sunshine, which was good for crops. Workers grew 2 bags of grain in the wheat fields. Workers caught 6 fish on the river. Tragically, 1 careless fisherman fell in the river and drowned. Armed villagers pursued outlaws into the hills, but no outlaws were found. Armed villagers pursued wolves into the forest, but no wolves were found. Workers at the smithy forged 10 new metalware goods. Passing travelers paid 12 gold for 10 goods at the marketplace. Sellers at the market brew up some tea and take it easy as there are no more goods to sell. 20 food is taken east towards Hungry Village by 10 of your most trusted workers. 1 or 2 builders made a lot of tea but no progress today. Rats helped themselves to 12 grain. Rats helped themselves to 11 food. Villagers ate up 75 food this day. Your peasants are revolting. 19 villagers went without food today. 6 villagers left the village in search of food, so check all your buildings. Tomorrow's weather forecast is not at all helpful, which will be unpredictable for crops. This forecast is 0% reliable. Villagers feel safe from outlaws. Villagers feel safe from wool. You have 73 villagers. You currently have 62 villagers doing some work. You have villagers feel safe. You have 90 bags of grain. You have 0 available food. You have 12 gold coins. You have 0 goods to sell. Rumors suggest there are around 0 workers grew to return to Dragon Village. It is day 2, time to instruct your workers. You are at location G2, the forest. There are currently 10 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. There are still 10 workers here. F2, the guardhouse. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 25. How many? Sorry, there are only 11 workers available. There are still 0 workers here. There are now 11 workers here. E2, the church. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. Sorry, there are only 0 workers available. There are still 0 workers here. D2, the Green Dragon Tavern. Are you sure you wish to end the day? Please type Y or N. Okay. Events this day in Dragon Village. Today's weather was floods, which was a possible disaster for crops. Workers grew 1 bags of grain in the wheat fields. Floods broke through the dike and have ruined today's crop of 1 bags of wheat and 0 bags of barley. Workers caught 18 fish on the river. Armed villagers pursued outlaws into the hills, but no outlaws were found. Armed villagers pursued wolves into the forest, but no wolves were found. Workers at the smithy forged 10 new metalware goods. Passing travelers paid 10 gold for 8 goods at the marketplace. 1 or 2 builders made a lot of tea, but no progress today. Rats helped themselves to 12 grain. Rats helped themselves to 2 food. Villagers ate up 16 food this day. Your peasants are revolting. 62 villagers went without food today. 18 villagers died in the revolt, so check all your buildings. Tomorrow's weather forecast is not at all helpful, which will be unpredictable for crops. Villagers feel safe from wolves. You have 55 villagers. You currently have 40 villagers doing some work. You have 78 bags of grain. You have 0 available. You have 22 gold coins. You have 2 goods to sell. Rumors suggest there are around 0 outlaws in the hill. Workers grew 1 bag. Floods broke. Workers caught armed village. Workers at passing 1 or 2. Rats help them. Your 8 tomorrow. Villagers. You have 2. Rumors return today. Return to. It is day 3. Time to instruct your workers. You are at location D2, the Green Dragon Tavern. Today's weather forecast is not at all helpful. D3, the marketplace. D2, the Green Dragon Tavern. There are currently 0 workers here. The maximum at this location is 10. There are now 10 workers. E2, there are currently 0. There are now 5 workers. F2. The guardhouse. G2. Please press Y or N for yes or no. Okay. Special event. Standing in the marketplace, he proclaims his message. It is the king's wish to have a country residence. This village has been chosen as a quiet and peaceful place. On the king's order, you must select a building plot and keep the peace. Nobody seems inclined to mention rumors of outlaws or wolves. Be sure, added the herald, to use large stone blocks and oak beams. You assume the king has not heard about the dragon. His message delivered, Gerald the herald departs. You wonder if it is possible to change the name of the village. Events this day in Dragon Village. A herald rocks up in the marketplace and seems to think this is a holiday camp fit for a king. Today's weather was floods, which was a possible disaster for crops. Floods broke through the dike and have ruined today's crop of 0 bags of wheat and 0 bags of barley. Workers caught 2 fish on the river. Tragically, 1 careless fisherman fell in the river and drowned. Armed villagers pursued outlaws into the hills, but no outlaws were found. Armed villagers pursued wolves into the forest, but no wolves were found. Workers at the smithy forged 10 new metalware goods. Passing travelers paid 10 gold for 8 goods at the marketplace. Prayers were listened to by the gods, but the gods were a little busy today. Some villagers drank far too much beer and spent far too much time looking for a missing cheese. Rats helped themselves to 8 grain. Store workers stopped rats from eating any food. Villagers ate up 2 food this day. Your peasants are revolting. 54 villagers went without food today. 19 villagers left the village in search of food, so check all your buildings. The future is so bleak, all your villagers have just deserted you. Tomorrow's weather forecast is not at all helpful, which will be unpredictable for crops. This forecast is 0% reliable. Villagers feel safe from outlaws. Villagers feel safe from wolves. You have 0 villagers. You currently have 0 villagers doing some work. You have 70 bags of grain. You have 0 available food. You have 32 gold coins. You return to Dragon Village and start your new day. Today's weather forecast is not at all helpful. Special event. You have failed. You failed your village folk and you failed your king. You spend an empty day looking at empty buildings. Late in the day, the king's cavalry arrive. And on the king's orders, the soldiers carry out your execution. Press any key to end your misery. Main menu. Play the game. G3. The road to the east. G2. Main menu. Abandon. View the instruction. Abandon. View program instructions. Instructions for Rocky's Dragon Village. Version 1.41. Intro. You are the leader of a small main menu. Listen. Toggles. Listen to some quick verbal instructions. Use the up, down, left and right arrow keys to move the focus. Use the escape key to get to the main menu. Use the enter key to activate choices on a given location. Use function key F1 for detailed help. Toggle speech off or on. Toggle the intro screen off. The village instructions.txt, Muischio. Texted version 1.4 release date 28 October 2018. 1. Intro. You are the leader of a small settlement called Dragon Village. Blank. 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 Notepad. Rocky's Dragon Village. Talk. Change the text. Change the background color. Save your game and play the game. Abandon current game. Okay. Are you sure you wish? Please press Y or N. Please press. Okay. You probably already know about the wolves, the outlaws, the floods and the dragon. Better get stuck in. Press any key to press enter on your choice of difficulty level. Stressful. Relaxing. Interesting. Set game difficulty to interesting. Please type Y or N. Thank you. Your difficulty level is now set to interesting. Okay, let's go. You are at location G2. The forest. It is day 1, time to instruct your workers. Today's weather forecast is not at all helpful, which will be unpredictable. Are you sure you wish to end the day? Please press Y or N. Okay, let's continue. Do you really want to leave? Press Y to exit or N to resume the. Thank you for visiting Rocky's Dragon Village. If you have enjoyed this game, please consider making a donation. For more of my games and software, or to donate, please visit rockywaters.co.uk. Press any key to exit. Taskbar. Studio. Stop.